In this video, I'm going to make this storage compartment for my sanding discs. So it's not very big, but it was basically a trial and error for me at this point. Primary reason I did this particular build was to get more experience at these dados without a dado stack. So that was the main reason I wanted to do it, but I needed a compartment as well. I need to probably make a bigger one, but this was my first stab at this and it worked out very well. So please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below, and let's get into the video. Okay, so I've seen this technique done on a few YouTube videos, basically using a couple different stop blocks and using cutoffs. I'll kind of walk through this as I go. I haven't done this before, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it all works out. But like I say, I'll kind of walk you through step by step what I'm doing, and we'll see how it goes. So I've got a scrap piece that's identical to what I'm going to be using. So basically, to do this, I'm going to be building a holder for my orbital sander pads, discs. So this will be the material I'm going to use. I'm basically going to put dados in it and then have shelves through dados and have my different areas for my sanding discs. So that's what I'm building. It's going to be more for training myself on how to do dados correctly like this. But all the videos I've seen are not using this thin material like I have here. They're all doing like 3/4 inch block, like for furniture and bigger dados. So because this is so small and thin, I don't know how it's going to go, but let's give it a try. So just getting ready to try this technique. So I wanted to start with a fresh cutoff. So I just basically took my piece of scrap, cut a piece of wood off of it, and then I was just testing out a few different scenarios of how this is going to work. So basically what it is taking that piece of scrap, getting it moved over to where you want the dado at, and then cutting a line and for the first dado, and then moving it over to the size of the piece that you're cutting the dado for, and it was too big, way too big. Okay, so the technique is this. Basically, you will take your stock that you're going to be cutting your grooves into, and wherever you mark that at, for me, it's just going to be arbitrary because this is going to be more or less a test piece, just to get a rough test. So I'll just mark my place there. And then that's kind of where you want your first stop block to be, is when you do actually have your lines for where you want your actual dados to be, you need to mark that spot. And you need to make sure it's lined up with your cut blade. So for me, I can see that based on my cut here. And then what you need to do is take another stop block, but for this stop block, you will put your piece of what you want your dado to be the size of. So for me, it's this little 1/4 inch piece of plywood. So I will put that in here like that. And then I will go ahead and get a stop block for that one. Okay, stop the video. So this is absolutely wrong. So I will show you here in a second what happened after doing this particular technique incorrectly. I won't go through the whole showing you of what I did from here forward, because this right here is wrong, and I will show it to you here next. Okay, let's see how we did. I can already tell. It is way too big. Way too big. Take a look at that. So I need to figure out what did I do wrong. Okay, so I got my information I needed, and here's what we need to do. I was doing it incorrectly, obviously. So we will not use this side of the wood. I marked that out. This will not be used. We'll do our dado over here. I have scribed a new line for where I'll just do my test dado, again, as I'm learning how to do this. So one of the things it says to do, which I've already done, is to just cut a flush cut here first, and then the next cut will be to, you put your actual stock that you're going to be using for your dado over on this side. So let's go ahead and get that going. Again, mask and some ear protection. Now that is a very, very thin piece, but what this is supposed to be is the size, the width of my insert plus the kerf of the blade. So it is thin because this is only 1/4 inch. So take the 1/8 inch off. Oh, my math is terrible. But that's what it's supposed to do. So now let's give this a shot and see how it does. So basically the next step is this. Now that we have this cutoff, we will take this cutoff and we will mount it that doesn't work. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We have to get our cut line on the left side. This is my dado cut line I made where I'm going to want my dado cut. Then you put the spacer over here. Now they said the more friction you have here is the amount of friction that your piece is going to have going in. So you make it as tight or as light as you want. I'm probably not going to do it too tight, but let's just get this on here. I'll just get a little bit of friction. Okay. Now the key thing is you do not want these stop blocks to move. And now you can remove your small piece. And then what we're going to do now is make a cut, move the board over to the other side, make another cut. And then that size should match our piece. So let's give that a try and hopefully it works. Again, dust mask and ear protection. Now, what do we have? Looks much better. Let's see how we do here. Oh, yeah, it's much better. It's a little loose, but when I made my side piece, like I said, the friction side over here, I did not make it that tight, so I'm actually okay with a little bit of slop. Because basically what this is going to end up being is a shelf for my sandpaper to go into. So it needs to slide back and forth anyway. So I'm actually okay with a little bit of slop. So I think that process worked. I'll probably do a few more test runs just to see how I can tighten it up without making any more cuts, any more shims. So I basically call this a shim. So this will be for 1/4 inch ply on an 1/8 inch kerf on a blade. This seems to be the size that I will need to have for that. So I'm going to make a few more test runs and just see how it does. And so now I'm just doing measurements on my shelf unit and how things are going to be laid out. And then take it over to my miter saw and just cut the pieces down to size. So now just getting ready to do my dados on my slots. I did one more test run just to make sure it looked good, and it did. So I got my actual boards, used a setup block to get the right height on my table saw blade. And then I got to work on actually cutting the dados onto the sides of what will be the box. Okay, so sped it up quite a bit here through the assembly process. I did a lot of double checking and double measuring. So basically the very top, the very bottom of this box is going to be pocket hole screws, kind of holding it together. So I did check to make sure that my dado slots were mirrored on each side, so that's good. So now I'm cutting the shelf units that are going to go in here. And what I found was on this piece, these 1x6 pieces that I used for my previous project were bowed a little bit. So I had to basically take every shelf and make it a custom size to fit in the dado. So it wasn't a big deal, but it was just an extra added step I had to do to get through, you know, all of these parts and pieces. And then at the very last part here, I did put a back on this thing. It's probably not 100% needed because it's going to be hanging on a wall, but I went ahead and did that. Just, you know, I felt like I needed to have a back on it. So I put it back on it and just using brad nails to attach it. I did not use any glue or anything. So yeah, that was the build for it. And then just sorting through all of my sanding discs. Okay, so small problem. I knew this though, because this was just going to be my first attempt at this. So I knew this wasn't going to be quite enough bays, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different grits of paper. Actually 7, but I've only got one of these. I don't really need it. So I will probably combine these two. So what I have is this. I have 80, 100, 120, 150, and 220. So I will probably combine the 80 and the 100. I'll put the 80 on the bottom because I'm going to use the 100 first. And then we will just go up from there. We will do 120, 150, and 220. And I will make labels for these on the sides. I will do that later. But yeah, these they're fitting in there good, so I'm happy with that. So it's out of my drawer. I have access to it. I also have this. This is for making sure when you're doing your sanding on your orbital sander that, let me just show you a quick example, that if you're going around the corners, it will give. Let me see if I can get that there. It will give. Okay, so it's not a straight where it's going to take a lot off. So it will give. So it does that. Okay. Whereas if you don't have it, then it's just, it could take off a lot more, be uneven. But this way, as you're sanding, it gives like that. It makes it easier. So I have this as well. What I'm probably just going to do for this one is put it on top. Just making a quick little box. Learning how to do dados without a dado stack. Again, this is just common pine, so it was a little warped. So when I made my little shelves, I had to basically customize them almost per slot. But I made my dados deep enough to where if they're a little bit loose, they're okay. But they seem to slide in and out pretty well. So yeah, I'm happy with it. So that's it for this video. I hope you got something out of it. It was a real quick and dirty project. Something I needed to do. But again, like I had said, I needed to make sure that I get my dado skills in. So I think I've got that pretty well figured out now. So I can finish on with some other projects, building drawers and things like that with the bottoms in a dado slot. So I'll be doing some of those in the near future. But yeah, I'm happy with this. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.